Okay, hi there everybody. Welcome to my management principle class. Today I'm going to talk about motivation. For motivation is under our framework POLC, planning, organizing, leading, controlling. Motivation is under leading. You lead others, you inspire others. Last class we talked about individual personalities. It is very important for managers to understand your people. Okay? A shepherd knows your sheep, right? So a manager must to know your employees' personality, the good traits, the bad traits, and find the ways to motivate your employees. Okay? So today I want to go to the motivation. Okay? And you heard this word all the time, and sometimes when your dad or mom want to do something, you say, oh, I don't feel like I'm motivated. Okay. What does really mean motivation? Motivation really means you can use a set of forces or something to change your behavior to a certain way. I heard stories and some students, their parents, or grandparents, even including me, give monetary rewards to the children. If you get an A, you get 100, 200, you get a B, you get less, maybe $80 anyway. So that's the parents use the monetary, rewards. Sometimes you get a holiday, right? So anyway, so those are the things you get somebody do something, okay? I want to show you this nice picture here, right? Suppose you are in that, tiny boat. There's the shop behind you. It's only 10 feet away. You'd have better really paddle fast, right? So anyway, and that's a good reason to be motivated, right? To run, to save your own life, okay? So let me give you a definition first. So what is the nature of motivation? Okay, as I said earlier, right? Motivation, according to Griffin, is really talk about a set of forces and cause people to behave in a certain way. Okay, you're the boss, and if this way help you to increase the job performance, you do it. But some ways, and you find the employees, they don't come on time, and then maybe you find other ways to disallow that, behavior, discontinue that behavior. We'll talk about that later on too, right? So anyway, the goal for managers, remember, let's go back to the framework, right? The POLC. Management is getting things done through people, okay? The goals of management is really try to reach effectiveness and efficiency, right? I call it double E, okay? So the goal of managers is really to maximize desired behaviors and then minimize undesirable behaviors, right? Okay, so for a manager, you want to encourage positive behavior, you want to discourage negative behavior. I would say the parents do the same thing, All right? So motivation is very important in the workplace, okay? We all want to be good performers, right, in a work or as a student. But there's a lot of theory on that. I want to really emphasize this, really. For a person to do well, there's three things involved, okay? The most important one is really motivation. Your desire to do the job. Well, you must like your job, right? If you don't want to be there, and it's a free country, nobody forced you to be there, then you cannot do the job, okay? So motivation is really important. We got some students, come from China, and actually they don't want to come here, far away from home, and they just really struck it. They said, why do you come here? I don't really want to be here because my dad and mom wants me to be here, right? So you hear stories like that. It's kind of sad, right? Anyway, but again, you must have the drive, the desire, the ambition to do the job. So that's the first one's motivation. The second one is ability. See, for somebody to do the job well, you must have certain ability. for me to be a professor or to be a good professor, I must have ability. What do you mean? I have a doctorate degree, right? Most of the professors have doctorate degrees. Many years of education. Up to like 20 some years. Okay, but also for me, I need to know my discipline, right? I teach management, I teach strategy. So you see, right? Those are basic abilities. Your credentials, your ability to communicate, your ability to transfer message, right? Your ability to relate to people. So that's very important, okay? Ability, okay? If you're hired as a truck driver, you better know how to drive a truck, right? Those abilities. If you get hired as a programmer, you better know how to do coding, right? Those are really important, okay? But the last one is really working environment, you talk about the resources you needed to the job. Many years ago, I worked in Hong Kong, and my boss said, okay, last year was a great year. This year, I want you to have 20% revenue growth. I was the sales manager. I said, boss, I can do it, but give me at least 20% more resources. Can I have a few more sales personnel? Can I have more money? Because, to do computer business, you need to have credit, open credit for customers. So they pay you back in 30 days. So then, your sales revenue will go up, right? So I cannot do that alone, okay? So basically, remember these three things. For you, future workers, the individuals, the performance, you must have all three. The most important thing is really your personal motivation. The second one is like, do you have the ability to do it? And the third one is really, the environment is very important. We talk about resources, right? Okay, so anyway. So motivation is a very interesting term. The Chinese actually have a very good definition for motivation. Literally means like get you excited, get you enthusiastic about it. I think it's even more vivid than English. A lot of you have seen Dragon Boat festivals, like this typical time of the year, like in May, it's the Chinese Dragon Boat Festival. And you got a guy in the front, but he's drumming, and actually in the Chinese word for motivation also has a drum in it, 鼓励. Okay, so anyway, but again, you just see every culture, every parent, every boss need to understand what motivation is and how to use them, okay? For Griffin's chapter here, he talked about three things. I want you to remember this I call CPR approach, right? I know quite a few know how to do CPR, right? I'm not talking really about the cardio, pulmonary resuscitation. I had a certificate a few years ago from Red Cross. I just used the acronym here. What I meant is really, you need to understand the content of motivation. What things motivate you? What things motivate your people? Okay, so that's a C. The second one is really process. Means like, how are we motivated? Normally, if you have higher ambition, you'll be more motivated. Suppose you want to get an A from my class, right? Okay, you have to be in class on time, you have to submit all your assignment, right? You have to do well for your exams, for your essays, right? So that's the process, A semester is like 16 weeks. So if you want to get an A, you got to really start from week 1, right? Till week 16 until you finish all your final, right? So you see that, right? So the process is very important, okay? And the next one, Griffin talked about reinforcement. You heard this before, positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, okay? So basically, if you're a manager and you know, okay, this staff really likes, okay, some gift card from Starbucks, we're doing a good job, right? This person does a great job. You cannot just raise salary, but you say, okay, I can give you a Starbucks gift card. And then you find like other person like something else, maybe some Chinese food, right? Gift card, okay? So we call this positive reinforcement. Sometimes not really about money, Just pat on the shoulder. Tell the whole group, this person did a great job. We have employee of the month, right? So anyway, so those are called positive reinforcement. Of course, opposite of positive is negative, right? So when somebody does a bad job, like always come to work late, and then probably have a conversation with this person and give some, timeline. If you continue to be late and you cannot do your job, you will be axed, right? You'll be fired, right? So anyway, those we call negative reinforcement anyway. So basically, you need to understand the CPR approach. It's very important. Your final examination, the case is really based on these theories, okay? I hope you watched my previous videos too, but anyway, this one's really important, okay? So let's go back to the framework here. Again, okay, scholars like to have framework. So the first one's really content perspective, right? Okay, there's a need, and there's a deficit, we need something, A lot of us go to work because we need money, right? Okay, it's nothing wrong with that, if you have a lot of money, it's well, I'm going to do volunteer, I'm going to go for holiday, right? So it's okay. We all have needs and wants, right? Without our needs and wants, there's no commercial activities, okay? There's nothing wrong with that, okay? So the next one is really process, okay? So basically, we find ways to satisfy the need, right? If this person likes money, okay? If we, maybe you can use commission-based, right? Actually, a lot of sales jobs is commission-based. Real estate, insurance, right? Okay. So the more sales you do, the more money you make, right? Okay. All right. And the next one, really try to find a certain behavior, choice of behavior to satisfy the need. As I mentioned, right? Different individuals like to have different ways to be motivated. Okay. And then you evaluate, okay, this works on this person, right? Again, when you work for a company, they should at least provide the basic needs, right? We talk about other needs. Some people have the basic needs already. They say, I want more power. I want to be promoted. And some people want to go for a trip overseas, sent to your overseas subsidiaries anyway. So there's a lot of ways you can evaluate what works on this person, okay? And then, if you already know this employee, you can determine the future needs. Of course, conversation, communication is very important, right? Because you want to keep this good asset in your company, and then you need to really find ways, give this person a career path, right? A way to realize his or her self-actualization. It's not just about money anymore, right? So the third one is really go back to reinforce it. Okay, you found this person likes money, give more money, that person likes more power. Some people like people, relations, maybe putting HR or other marketing, right? So anyway, so basically this framework covers three things, CPR, the content, process, and the reinforcement, okay? Let's go back to a little bit history of motivation. I think it was on chapter 2, we talk about management theory, from classical, I call it CBQS or BBQS, right? Anyway, under the human relations, actually, we talk a little bit about it. But remember, in the classical approach, workers are interchangeable towards production. They don't really value people. They treat people like machines, But they get Frederick Taylor, has scientific management based on individual performance, right? But again, they have some assumptions, like every theory. This is managers know more than workers. Okay, this is how we're going to motivate you. Okay, we know more than you. Those old days. But today they try to find different ways. Economic gain, money, is a primary motivation for performance. Okay, it's nothing wrong with that either. I would say a lot of people work for today still really they need money. But of course, you also find meaning at work, right? So anyway, but the assumption is like people don't really like work. If they have money, probably they're going to go for holiday, right? Why do you need to work so hard? Okay. And then later on, under the behavior approach, managers began to pay more attention to employees' emotions, feelings, and the attitudes, right? So we got a human relations approach. They began to emphasize the role of social process in the workplace, how to relate to their team members, the peer pressure, right? Or the informal dynamics, okay? So they have assumptions too, is different from the classical approach. So under this theory, the assumption is that employees want to feel useful and important, right? Okay, that's a good one, right? You want to feel like you're valued. Employees have strong social needs more important than money. It's not just about money, okay? Maintaining the appearance of the employee participation is very important. So say, hey, you know, the employees want to be part of this process, you know, especially in America, right? In a democracy, everybody has a voice, right? If you just shovel through that decision to my throat, I say, hey, I'm not liking it. I was never really involved, right? So anyway, so that's why when you get people involved, we talk about delegation before, participation, they will feel like they are part of it. Okay, so that's very important. And that's actually approach, you know, the human resources relations approach to motivate stuff. Okay. Okay. So again, under this approach, they emphasize the values of the employees. Okay. They assume the employees' contributions are important and valuable. Of course, right? I said many times before, the most important assets in a company is really human resources, the talents, the people. Okay. Employees want to and are able to make genuine contributions. Okay. Today's competition is human competition. It's cultural competition, right? It's a creativity competition. It's innovation competition. So you need people to do it. Okay. Management's job is to encourage participation and create a work environment that motivates employees. Remember, we go back to motivation, ability, and then the work environment, right? So that's why this theory addressed the third issue, okay, for a good individual performance. Okay. Now let's go to the first one, content perspective. Okay. Again, content is talk about what motivates a person. Okay. So they try to answer the question, what factors in the workplace motivate people? Okay. It's very important to understand, right? Okay. Okay, there are a lot of theories, okay? The book talks about 4 major ones, okay? The first one is like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, okay? And we talked about that before too, actually, even under the human relations before. And then we go to the outer first, ERG theory. You know, the case mentioned the ERG theory, okay? And 3 factors, from 5 to 3. And then we go to Hertzberg's 2-factor theory. Seems like scholars like it from things from complexity to simplicity. And then again we go back to McLellan's achievement, power, and affiliation needs. Okay. So, but also we have other theories behind there. Okay. All right. So let's go to the first one, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Right. You learned this from psychology, you know. You remember the pyramid before, right? Okay. So we do this another way around here. So basically, under Maslow, you know, he's a very famous psychologist from the US in the 1930s. Okay. So Maslow is saying, he said, okay, every human being, the most important, the basic needs is physiological. Okay. This needs is for survival, biologic functions. We need water, we need air, we need food, right? Those are basic physiological, okay? Without those, we cannot survive, okay? The next one is really, they want a safe physical, emotional environment, okay? You come to work, you want to feel safe, you want to have friends, okay? So that's when we talk about security. You also want to have benefits, right? Health benefits, maybe some kind of retirement, you know, contribution, right? Okay. And the third one is like belongingness. You want friends. You want to experience love and affection, you know, because we are human beings. We have emotions, okay? And the fourth one is really esteem. So basically, you want to have a positive self-image. You want to respect or recognition from others, from your bosses, from your colleagues, even from the outside, right? So, and the very last one is like, you want to have a self-actualization. You want to realize your potential. You want to move up. Some of you want to be a top manager, you know? So you want to make sure this company has a career path for you to move up, okay? You have a place to learn things, to grow. So anyway, so these are the 5 needs, okay? Again, the top one is the basic needs, okay? So let's do this in a pyramid, okay? All right? So we kind of flip this around a little bit, okay? So again, so if you're the boss for a company, right? So the physiological needs talk about the basic needs, right? So then you need to give your employees basic salary to make sure they have money for food, for shelter, right? You know, I owned a business in Hong Kong before, you know, I have salespeople. But sometimes some months your sales are really good and some are not that good. But I give them a basic pay, it's about $2,000, okay? As long as they come every day to work, you know, they need to make I'll pay them $2,000, and that's basic pay. But then above their sales quota, they can make more money. You can make $5,000 or even $10,000 a month, right? So basically, it's just important to make sure you have the basic pay, you know. That's right now, you know, in the US, we have minimum wages, right? And you know, some people still struggle to have 2 or 3 minimum wages even to make a living. It's very expensive, right? The rent's going up, and food, and other stuff, and healthcare, right? So anyway, so that's why you can use this to answer the question, how you treat your people. The next one is really stability, right? You give security, okay? That means what? You want people to feel comfortable, they want to commit to your work, okay? Give them pension, 401k, you know, it's kind of sad, not everybody, you know, have 401k. I think the last time I read is like the US is about 50% of the employees have some kind of retirement, you know, 401k pension plan. You know, for those part-time workers, you know, they don't get any anyway. You know, the Social Security, that's a government, you know, public goods anyway, it's not enough to cover your retirement anyway. And the third one, the third is real belongingness. It's really talk about friendship. Then, you know, how do you provide an environment, you know, you have friends at work, you know. I have heard people telling me like, okay, I don't really like my job that much. I like my friends, you know. I like people who work together, you know. That's why some people really, you know, they make choices like that. Anyway, yeah, it's really more fun, yeah. But actually, my friend James Zhang and I, we did a research on human resources management and the employees' well-being. And actually, the Chinese workers value the friendship with the co-workers or even recognition from the co-workers much higher than the West, because China is from a collective culture, right? Okay. And the next one, really, some people want some status, right? Okay. You've been there for a long time and you're capable, you say, hey, you know, I want to be a manager. I don't just want to be a worker my whole life. And normally, when the company gives you more responsibility, they do pay you higher, right? So anyway, so you need to give them job title, of course, more responsibilities too, right? Okay. And the very last one is really under Maslow's self-actualization, and here's really, okay, people want achievement, okay? Give them a challenging job, okay? Give them a project, you know. If this person prove it, then get another promotion, right? So anyway, so basically you can use Maslow's 5, we call the hierarchy of needs, okay, to manage the employee's needs, okay. But remember here, it's a pyramid, right? But also, in real life, you know, right? Individuals, we probably have at least the first bottom 3 needs at the same time. We want food, I want stability, I want friendship, I want everything, right? So it's not necessarily a pyramid, okay? Because it's more like a circle. Okay, so when we go to the next theory, talk about that, like just remember that, But also, this theory never talk about faith, your belief, your spiritual belief, spirituality. But to some of us, or Christians, right, faith is very important, right? So you see the points anyway. But again, this does give you some kind of content about what motivates people, okay? All right. So Maslow's contribution, basically, he identified and categorized individual needs, right, under those 5 categories, but also emphasized the importance of needs to be motivated, okay? So what is the weakness of it? Any theory, there are pros and cons. No theory is perfect. Again, all levels of needs are not always present. Some people don't want to have for just self-actualization. Hey, I just want to get a job, make some money, support my family, right? Okay. Ordering or importance of needs is not always the same, right? Okay. As long as you have food, the basic needs meet. Some people have different. Some people want friends, some people like power. Okay. But also cultural differences can impact ordering and ceilings of needs, right? I mentioned in Chinese culture, workers really value their co-workers' recognition, friendship, and also recognition from others. Anyway, so this is the first theory under the content from Maslow, the 5 hierarchy of needs, okay? Now let's go to the next one, okay? The next one, okay, is really called the ERG theory. So this is the theory, actually, in your final essay, okay? So, but remember here, right, Maslow had 5, and right now here is 3, okay? So the E is for existence needs. You say, oh yeah, sounds like the basic needs under Maslow, the physiological, the security, right? And the second one is related needs. It's about friendship, right? Esteem. And the third one, probably about self-actualization, right? But remember, right? Here's not a pyramid. This is a circle. It's a sphere. It means all needs could be all equal. Okay? And they make it more simple, right? Now only 3, okay? Not 5 under Maslow. Okay? So basically, this ERG theory is from Aldafer. He simplified it. I mean, of course, he did research too. He borrowed some ideas from Maslow. Okay. So basically what he did is like needs are grouped into overlapping categories. Now there's only 3 overlapping categories. He said existence needs really physiological security needs. Relatedness needs is belongings, esteem by others. And the growth needs is really self-esteem and self-actualization. Okay, that's what we call ERG theory. Okay. What is the assumption here? Basically, Aldafer assumed because multiple needs can be operating at one time. See, it's no hierarchy here. It's a circle, all equal. I said earlier, right? So if a need is unsatisfied, a person will regress to a lower level of need and pursue the other need. Okay, means if they're not satisfied, they will get frustrated now anyway. Maybe they try to find other ways, right? Okay. I remember many years ago in my company or the company I worked for, and say, one person talked to the boss, and the boss cannot really give a financial or salary increase. However, the boss said, okay, I cannot give a financial increment, but I can give you a title increase, right? So anyway, so basically that person got promoted as a manager. Yeah, I was already vice president at that time. So anyway, interesting, right? So people, if you cannot give me money, give me a title, right? Okay, all right. The next one, we go to the 2-factor theory. Okay, from 5 to 3 to 2 right now. Okay, life is getting more easier, right? So the 2-factor theory is from Hertzberg. Okay. So again, he's a psychologist, could be a practitioner. So Hurt was saying like satisfaction and dissatisfaction are influenced by two independent set of factors. Okay. So basically, they're saying, all right, people are influenced by the motivational factors. It's the work itself. Okay. And it's talking about the intrinsic motivation. The next one is hygiene factors. It's about work environment. Okay, that could talk about your salary and job stuff. Anyway, we have some parameters there. Anyway, so basically two factors: motivational factors and hygiene factors. Okay, under Herzberg, two-factor theory, and this theory is very popular even in international management. Maybe because it's easier. Okay. So what this says, okay, there's two stages here. The hygiene factors are not deficient or they're not blocking motivation. That means like you still have to pay people enough money. You still have to provide a secure environment. Okay. So they can experience a higher factor or motivational factors in job enrichment. Okay. So basically, the work environment itself is the hygiene factors, right? We talked about earlier. Okay. So what are the hygiene factors? The supervisors. Okay. To have a good boss is a blessing, I can tell you. Over the years, have good bosses and bad bosses. Okay. But again, it's very important to work with a supervisor. Supervisors are human beings too. Some are caring, some maybe not that caring, right? So anyway, supervisors or your management, okay? And the second one is really working conditions, right? Again, talk about security, right? Okay, must be a secure environment to work for. Then it's interpersonal relations. Then we talk about like how you relate to others, right? Recognition from your co-workers. And another one is really pay and security, right? Okay. Let's go back to Maslow's, the second, right? Security, right? You still need to pay them, okay? Or even the first one, they need to have enough money to pay for the food and shelter and others, right? But also it could be company policies, administrations, okay? Are the company giving, okay, maternity leave? Company give you holidays, right? So a lot of things affect the working environment, okay? So that's the hygiene factors, okay? And this also could lead, the results of satisfaction or dissatisfaction. The next one is really work content itself. We call motivational factors. It's not really about money anymore, okay? So it's about achievement. How do you feel like you achieved? I think you guys heard me say in the class before, I was an entrepreneur, I was a corporate for almost 20 years, and I've been a professor at George Fox for 10 years. When I first came to Fox 10 years, I said, I come here not just for money. Of course I still need money, right? No work is free, but I said I value more Christian environment, sharing knowledge, right? Beautiful Oregon. So you see that, right? So anyway, so I was looking for other things, okay? But also recognition, right? Being a professor, you do get a lot of respect from students, right? Okay? Or others. But again, the work itself, okay? To work in a Christian school is different from working in a secular university even, right? You can talk about God, you can share about your faith, you can pray for each other. So those are the things, I value, okay? Of course, responsibility, right? Okay. Love my job, I want to do the best, right? Okay. And also you want to have an advancement or growth, like, okay, for professors, normally if you have a doctorate degree, you go hire as assistant, you can move up to associate, you can move to professor, right? So there's a career path here, anyway. But again, remember here, motivational factors are not really talking about money. It's about non-monetary factors, Okay. So as a manager, you need to find ways to address those two major factors, the hygiene factors and the motivational factors. So after you know your people, you know, okay, if you could not provide enough hygiene factors, maybe you can do some motivational factors, right? Okay. So that's the two-factor theories. Okay. Again, you know, a lot of people actually criticize Herzberg's theory, but it's still very popular. Even I mentioned international management, we talk about this too. You know, what's the reason? As I mentioned, really, I think it's just simple. You know, business people like keep it simple and stupid, you know. So anyway, so easy to talk about, all right? Okay. Then the next one, we want to go to another scholar, Mac Cleland. So their theory is based on individual human needs. Okay. So basically, he talked about the first one. Okay, the need for achievement, the desire to accomplish a goal or task more effectively than in the past. Right. That seems like the highest need of Maslow. Right. You go back to Herzberg, it's really on the motivational factors, right? And then you go to Alderfer, it's ERG is on the growth, right? So anyway, need for achievement, okay? But then, some people have needs for affiliation, okay? Again, talk about friendship, talk about acceptance. It's like relatedness. Again, it's more like, go back to Maslow's, it's talk about friendship again, belongingness, right? Then McLaren found like, okay, actually, some people like power. You know, it's nothing wrong with to have power. You know, you heard like power crops, you know, absolute power crops, absolutely. But I also heard from a Harvard professor, powerlessness corrupts. Okay, because if you don't have power, you cannot do anything. You cannot change the world anyway. All right. So anyway, so when you have power, you can be ethical. You can make things happen, right? Okay. So anyway, so that's the needs for different people: achievement, affiliation, or power. Okay. So that's the theory. Talk about three things. Okay. Right. So again, I just give you four major theories on content, right? From Maslow's 5 hierarchy of needs, right? To the ERG 2-3, that's Alderfer. And then 2 hygiene factors, okay? And then 2, McLaren talk about affiliation, talk about power or achievement, right? AAP, right? Okay. So we cover the content part of motivation. So basically, it answers what motivates you or what motivates your employees, okay? Because if you don't know what motivates your employees, then you cannot use the right methods, right? So it's really important to know your people and see what will change their behavior. Of course, we're going to do it in a positive way, right? Okay. So the content perspective talk about what causes motivation. I want to go to this next one right now, the P, right? CPR, okay? Here means process perspective. It's really talking about how motivation occurs. I mentioned it earlier, right? Okay. Normally, if you have a higher goal, and then you will try harder to reach that goal, okay? So that's the process perspective, talking about how motivation occurs. So under the process perspectives, okay, the different approaches, okay, again, we need to search for behavior options, alternatives, okay. We already know what motivates a person. But then you choose the right approach to satisfy that individual's needs. And then you give rewards, and then you try to evaluate and when these goals are attained, okay. There's a few theories here. Again, 4 major theories. In your final case study, also mention this. Okay. So the first one is really expectancy theory. Okay. Like the higher you dream, the better chance you will achieve your dream, right? Okay. But then later on, we'll talk about another scholar, Porter and Lawler, actually extended the expectation theory to expectancy theory. And also we talk about equity theory. You talk about like how individuals pursuing if they're treated equally compared to another individual. We go details on that. And then we go to goal setting theory. Talk about what is the right process to set a goal. We talked about SMART goals before, right? For companies. Anyway, so these 4 theories can address the second part of motivational theories, the process perspective. Okay. So what is expectancy theory? Under this theory, it says motivation depends on how much we want something and how likely we're going to get it, right? And I mentioned, some are going to get an A for this class. And you say, okay, yeah, I had Dr. DVD's class before. It's not too hard for get an A if I follow instructions and, he also allows rewrites, sometimes even extra case, extra points, right? So you see that, right? You can get it. If I set a goal like an A is very hard for you to get it, you're not going to try it, right? It's, oh yeah, it's not there, But anyway, so that's important. You can reach that goal and you can. So what is the assumption here under this theory? Assumption here is really personal and the environmental forces determine behavior, right? Means your personal ambition and of course in this case about your professor's cooperation, right? Okay. Also people make decisions about their behavior in organization. Okay. They do. You have a free will, right? You can get it by do the minimum because it satisfies them, right? But if you're going to get an A, you're going to be a top performer in the company, you have to really try much harder. But people have different types of needs, desires, and goals, right? Some of you like to have an A, but I know you work like 20 hours a week, and you have like 6 classes total. And then to have a B is not that bad either, right? So anyway, understand, okay? And then people choose among alternatives of behavior in selecting one that leads to a desired outcome, okay? So again, people attribute value for that. As I said, some people just want a B because they need to make money on their side, college is very expensive anyway. So that's very important. So basically, motivation leads to effort, okay? And then we have the ability and the environmental support. Remember, go back to the individual performance. And most likely, if 3 factors all there, you're motivated, you're capable to do it, and then the job environment provides you enough resources and you could do it. Okay, so that's what it really means. Okay. But again, the next one is really effort to performance, right? You got to try, right? No pains, no gains, right? You want to get an A, you got to do the A work, right? You can just do B work to get an A, right? So that understand, okay? But then a lot of times, performance to outcome expectancy, employees' perception of probability that performance will lead to a specific outcome, the consequences or reward for behavior organization, right? So you know it, okay, you reach this goal, like in my company before, people on commission, when they reach this target, they know I will honor, that extra commission, right? So it's very important, okay, yeah. The next one is really variance. You don't need to understand too much. We just talk about value, okay? It's how much value you get from it, okay? And normally it must be a positive value, right? Nobody wants a 0 value, okay? Yeah. Of course, do the minimal things anyway, yeah. Okay. So what is required for motivated behavior to occur? Again, the effort to performance expectancy and performance to outcome expectancy probabilities must be greater than 0. Of course, must be right. Must be positive sum, right? Anyway, talk about you must be properly rewarded. Okay. Again, let's go back to our kind of original statement before, okay? For a company, your bosses want to motivate you to have performance. You can only perform when you have enough resources, right? The work environment, and you are trying your best, right? Okay, your desire, your ambition, your motivation, and then you have the ability to do it, and then you can finish each goal, of course, with a positive value, okay? The next theory is really by Porter and Lawler. They did some extension here. Yeah, scholars like to extend theories, okay? So they have some assumptions here. They say, okay, if performance results in equitable and fair rewards, people will be more satisfied. You know, in America, it's like we talk about fairness, right? Justice. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? So if like, okay, if some of us says, okay, not just me be fair treated, I want to make sure everybody else is fair treated. So high performance can lead to rewards and higher satisfaction. That makes sense, right? So anyway, so everybody should be fairly treated, okay? And then what kind of rewards? Remember I talked about hygiene factors before. Hygiene factors are more like extrinsic rewards, you know. Is talk about monetary things, you know, under the two-factor theory. And I mentioned the motivational factors talk about intrinsic rewards, okay? So here, under this theory, we really talk about these two things. So extrinsic rewards are outcomes set and awarded by external parties, normally called pay and promotions, right? Okay, give me the money, I'll do the work, right? But a lot of times, you know, we work is not just purely for money, you know. I mean, think about all those people who work for not-for-profit organization right now, all those doctors and nurses, first responders, you know, working in the hospitals, emergency hospitals, you know, during this COVID, you know, 19, you know, this tragedy. You know, people not just for money. You know, people even sacrifice their life for that. You know, I was watching a program yesterday, and this nurse, she was, you know, she was watching TV. She said, "Well, I'm here." You know, she's kind of like she had her license, but she has not been doing nursing like for a while. She just volunteered. I mean, yeah, and then she went back to work because she just see people dying, and she has this scare. You know, she wants to help, and those are more like intrinsic rewards. Okay, it's more talk about self-esteem, feelings of accomplishment, or sacrifice for others. Love thy neighbor, right? Okay, so you see that. So these are rewards, types of rewards, is theory extended by these two scholars, Porter and Lawler. Okay, and that's a theory here. Okay, so they do the performance. Of course, it's two types of rewards: intrinsic, extrinsic. And then they perceive the equity there, and they're satisfied. People are satisfied, they're going to help others, you know, either through both intrinsic rewards or extrinsic rewards. Okay, the third theory we'll talk about is equity theory. Equity means like, must be equitable, right? Must be fair, must be in some ways to be equitable, okay? So basically, the definition here is like, individuals believe that the treatment the individuals receive is fair relative to the treatment received by others. You say, what does that mean? Suppose, you know, in a company, you and your friend have the same degree, I mean college degree or bachelor's degree, and you both have similar experience, like 5 years, you know, and in this engineering company, and you know, you're getting $100,000 a year. And then one time during lunchtime, and your friend was not being careful, he was not supposed, or she was not supposed to talk about salary. He said, "Well, how are you doing now?" "Yeah, I'm making 110. And you said, "What? I always thought we had the same pay, and now you make 110,000. You make like 10% more than I do. How could that come?" Okay, of course, you would go to talk to your boss, right? You say, "You know, boss, I don't think it's fair you're treating me, you know." And the boss said, "Okay, is that beyond my control, you know? Maybe when this person got hired, the market was different anyway." And then you say, "Okay, nothing you can do. Your boss cannot give you a raise, right?" And then you say, "Oh, well, I get less than 10% than my body, then you will slow down your work, right? So you see the point? So that's kind of equity theory is kind of like, because you pursue, you are not treated equally. So the equity theory kind of make you think like, okay, then I will do less work then, and that's fair right now, right? So anyway, so people do compare. So basically, under this theory, people motivated to seek social equity, right? And individuals view their value of rewards, right? They say, hey, you know, if I only make 100,000, you make 110, and then it's not fair, so I'm gonna have less inputs, right, on that anyway. But it's really important to try to pay, you know, people fairly. I mean, even today we know, right? There is a glass ceiling, you know, that means like it's harder for women to get promoted or minorities. But also like, you know, the pay gap, right? Men makes $1, women makes about 83 cents. Right? You see that, right? I mean, even in America, in other societies probably it's even worse, right? So anyway, so equity theory is very important, okay, for managers to use that properly in motivating your people, okay. Again, if you feel like you're equitably rewarded, you will do the good job. You say, hey, you know, that's fair, yeah. But if you're not, then you do less work, right? You may quit the job, right? So you see that, right? So it's not good for the company when you do not treat people fairly and equally, right? Okay. Then if you feel over-rewarded, okay, maybe you do more work, right? Okay. But sometimes if you're too over-rewarded, probably, you know, in the tough economic times, you may lose your job, right? The next one is goal-setting theory, okay. So basically, the assumption under this theory is really behavior is a result of conscious goal and intentions. Setting goals influence behavior organization. It means like the higher goal you set actually can drive you have higher ambitions or better effort. So anyway, so to set a proper goal is very important. Okay. But the problem sometimes really is very hard to set a clear goal. Remember we talked about SMART goals for companies before, means like specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, right? So anyway, but it's also very hard sometimes. People work harder to achieve more difficult goals. Goals should be difficult but attainable. You know, if I have an A here, I cannot make it too difficult, can't even achieve it, right? So anyway, so you see that, right? Okay. So that's really important to have a reasonable goal there. But also you need to be really specific. Clarity and the precision of the goal is very important. And goals vary in the ability to state specifically, really. Must be really clear. The SMART goal, okay? You need to be really careful with that, okay? But also, you got to set up a goal is easy for people to accept, to own it. You know, when I was paying my employees commission, right? Yes, remember I said I pay the basic salary, but then anything above basic salary is commission based. I must use a mechanism to give them incentives for every level, every $10,000 they sell, you know? Because it must be fair too, because if I just like, you know, say, trick them, they're not be motivated, and that's not fair, right? So anyway, but there also is really must be commitment from the individuals. You know, I still remember like one of them says, you know, Mr. DVD, I really want to make $10,000 this month. I said, why? You know, I'm going to get engaged in a few months. I need extra money. I said, oh, that's good motivation. So I kind of try to help this person and find some products I could make good profit. I also can share some of the profit with my staff. Okay. So what are the implications here? So basically, if rewards are to motivate employees, they must be being perceived as being valid, attainable, fair, and equitable, right? Go back to the psychological contract, okay? It's a very important concept here, okay? So again, you want to have this goal, and employees are motivated to do it, but they also can pursue it like it's fair, and then they're happy, right? Satisfied employees perform better overall, Okay. So that's the second part of motivational theory, the process. We have four major theories, right? Okay. We have expectation theory, we have the extension of expectation theory, then we have the equity theory and the goal setting theory. Now I want to go to the third part, the R, okay? The R here is really reinforcement perspective. So what it really means is like, okay, you know, you find what makes your employees to motivated, and then you want to keep the same thing. I know most of you, a lot of American families have pets, right? Dogs and cats. And I always like to tease my student before, like, okay, do you think your dog really loves you? And everybody says yes. You know, I said, okay, I have the biscuit or the bone, and you know, and give to your dog, and I think your dog will listen to me too. You know, do the tricks, right? So basically, the dog loves you because what? You give the dog treats. I've been to Ocean Park in Hong Kong. They have the dolphins, you know, dance. You know, every time when the dolphins perform, right, the performer give fish, right? So basically, we know, right? That's called a positive reinforcement. Okay. So reinforcement theories really says the role of rewards is to cause behavior to change or remain the same over time. Okay. You maintain the same positive one. But sometimes people have bad behavior, right? And then how do you stop that? You know, we call it negative behavior. Sometimes, you know, you hear, you know, in the circus, and people abuse animals, hit animals because animals do not perform, right? It's the wanted, right? So anyway, so, you know, you watch videos like that before anyway. So the assumption here is really behaviors that result in rewarding consequences likely to be repeated. Your dog will keep performing the tricks because what? You gave the dog treats. The dolphins will continue to perform certain way, then after you give the fish, remember, you know, if you don't do that a few times, they will not listen to you anymore, right? So basically, behavior that results in punishing consequences less likely to be repeated. We call that, you know, negative reinforcement, okay? So what kind of reinforcement could you do in the company? Positive reinforcement, okay. The second one is really avoidance. And the third one is punishment. And the fourth one is extinction. I will go over with these four kinds of reinforcement, okay. So positive reinforcement is really easy to understand, right? Okay. Basically strengthen the behavior with rewards or positive outcomes after desired behavior is performed, right? Get praises or extra money, right? Or extra bone, extra treats for your dog, right? Okay. So that's called positive reinforcement. We use it all the time, right? We just like carrot, right? Okay, carrots and sticks, right? Managers use both, right? Okay, carrots and sticks, right? Okay. The second one is really avoidance. Okay. So what does avoidance mean? Here really means, okay, it's used to strengthen behavior by avoiding unpleasant consequences that will result if the behavior was not performed. Okay? You know, if somebody is late, but they say, hey, if you're not going to be late, I'm going to give you extra money. Okay? In my class, if you show up, what? I have participation points. So basically, I try to use the avoidance reinforcement techniques, right? To try to encourage you to come to class on time or participate, right? Okay, so that's the second one. The third one, punishment, you know, we call it sticks, right? You punish, okay, it's negative reinforcement. So basically, used to weaken undesired behavior by using negative outcomes or unpleasant consequences when the behavior is performed. Reprimand, discipline, or firing, right? Over the years, I hired quite a few people, also fired a few people. Some are really performance related, right? So I'm using the punishment, okay, as a reinforcement. Of course, that's what we call negative reinforcement, right? The last one is like extinction. Okay, extinction means like, don't want that to happen again. So basically used to weaken undesired behavior by simply ignoring or not reinforcing it. Let me give you one example, I had a good friend who was telling me, and his dad just liked to use bad racial slur, on Asian Americans. And my friend is really, a great guy, and he loves the Lord, and anyway, he treats everybody really nice. He said when his dad uses a racial slur, he just walk out of the room, right? I don't want to hear that thing anymore, Dad, you're being really rude, being a racist, right? So anyway, so what my friend is doing really, he tried to ignore a racial joke and not reinforce it, right? Anyway, of course, you do those things in the workplace, it's discrimination, it can be sued for, racial discrimination. But again, it's like, managers could use different ways to distinct some kind of behavior, right? So anyway, so these are the 4 ways of strategies under reinforcement. Okay. Then how do we make sure things will be regularly checked on as a manager? Okay. How do you know people do their job, right? You can go to walk around as a factory, right? You can check. You can walk by management by walking around. And companies have cameras in the factory, right? Assembly line, you know what's going on. But also you can, use the fixed ratio, variable ratio, and the frequency to check, if the employee is doing the right job. Anyway, so there's a lot of schedules to do it. But again, you must monitor. You must verify, okay, to make sure your strategies are implemented, okay? Okay, another theory under reinforcement really talk about behavior modification. OB mod really is under organizational behavior when you take class someday. Basically talk about behaviors could be changed, okay? People want to learn, okay? So basically, you can encouraging the positive behaviors by reward them and discourage dysfunctional behaviors, right? So anyway, by punishing those behaviors. Okay. But also there are other motivational strategies to get people motivated. Okay, empowerment. Okay, delegation power. If you're the boss, give more power to your staff, delegate them. And they feel like they're valued, they'll do a better job. And the next one really, let people participate. Let people become part of your plan, part of your movement. Open communication, right? So anyway, so let them make decisions about their own jobs, autonomy. Google actually allows Friday, an employee could use Friday's time to do, of course, their company work. You could do something else, not say on your YouTube site. And actually, I don't know guys, we all use Gmail, right? Even George Fox's Gmail. Gmail is invented by programmers in Google on Friday, on their freedom time to do the company work, okay? But also decisions about administrative matters. Let them get involved, or at least have some say. Participating in decision making in other broader issues, quality, right? Remember the goal, Alex really allowed people to be part of it, right? To solve the problem. Okay. How about others? Have work teams, right? Okay. Task force. Decentralization, again, give more power to your employees. Okay. But what are the conditions really? Must be a kind of flat power spread to low organizational levels, commitment to empower workers, must be a systematic and patient efforts to empower workers, and also give more training. You want to get people involved, okay? But also you get people motivated to work is like give them compressed work schedule rather than 5 days a week, 4 days a week. You know, my daughter actually worked for 4 days a week, 10 hours a day in the county, you know, as a mental health specialist. My neighbor is a first responder. I think he works like 3 days a week, of course, like 12, 13 hours a day time, right? So you see that. Also flexible work schedules. You know, as long as the work is done, you know, you give a deadline and then that's fine, right? Okay. But also job sharing. Means like give part of the job to somebody else. And telecommuting. Don't need to go to the office. Yeah, right now we're doing Zooming, right? Online right now, so anyway. But some people prefer to stay in their beautiful homes and, you know, beach houses, right, to work. Get more things done, right? So anyway, so there's a lot of ways you can get people motivated. Okay. But of course you need to reward people properly, right? Formal, informal ones, okay? And organizations can do a lot more to foster your employees' retention and their citizenship, the care for the community too. All right, so anyway, so you could find other ways to reward them. Okay, individual merit reward systems, other incentives, give the whole group or team incentives rewards. Okay, it's a lot of things you could do. Okay, you know, company give stocks, options. All right. Okay. Incentives. Normally, you know, you pay them better, they work harder. Of course, you need to be enough monitoring there too. Okay. Incentive pay plans, right? Commissions, sales commissions. Okay. Others, ESOP, employee stock ownership plans, scanner plans, gain share, you know. A lot of companies, you know, the startups, they don't have much money to pay. They say, okay, when the company gets listed, it's going to give you shares, right? Stock options. Okay. How about executives? Okay. Again, we need to motivate the bosses too. Okay. You know, a lot of bosses, you know, they don't make that much in salary. I mean, but they make a lot of money in their option stocks, right? When the stock prices go up, you know, I mean, like JP Morgan, CEO anyway. So there's a lot of things, you know, but some people say, oh, they get too much money, they get paid too high anyway. So there's a lot of controversial things too, anyway. Okay. How about other approaches? Okay. Leveraging the value of incentives, allowing individuals, groups in organization to have a say in how rewards are distributed. Let them be part of it. You don't just have the final say because, okay, this is the money allocated here, what do we do about it, right? But also, again, stock options or other ways to get people rewarded, okay? So basically, this is the end of this chapter, right? So under the motivation theory, I give you 3 major theories. The first one is content. Basically, we talk about what motivates a person. We have 4 major theories, I'm going to repeat right now. The second one is process. It's talk about the process, how people are motivated. Okay. Normally, if the employees have higher ambitions and they will reach the goal. The third one is reinforcement. So basically, managers want to repeat the things a person reacts to in a positive way so they can continue the positive reinforcement. But also, when the negative behavior happens, then you want to use the negative reinforcement, the stick, right? So it's carrots and sticks, right? Okay. So anyway, so that's what I want to talk about today. Okay. Thank you guys. Yeah, read the chapters besides watch the video because this is very important for you guys for the final project. Bye bye.